Welcome in to another edition of the show. It is Sportswrap Overtime, December 9th, 2025, and the show is brought to you by HII, built in America for America. I'm Craig Loper, pleased to be joined by Brian Parsons, as always, and our special guest on a Tuesday, Dave Schultz from the Locked On Sunbelt podcast. Thanks for joining us, Dave, and doing this, taking some time on a Tuesday night.
I appreciate it, Craig. It's about time you had me on the show. You only been in that area for a good 3 or 4 years. I've been doing Locked On for a few years, and I am connected to that ODU market. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
My guy, Scott Jackson, and I go back to 1998. He was doing sports talk in Jacksonville when I was the voice of the Jacksonville Suns.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And my brother, Dr. Seth Schultz, did his residency in Norfolk.
That's incredible.
Oh, wow.
You learned something new right off the rip. That's
unreal.
good.
I guess he was at Centera Hospital, probably, right? Norfolk Centera.
Probably, yeah. He's a neonatologist. He's a really good doctor, takes care of sick babies.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. Well, Brian reached out to you on social media. For context, Dave and I go way back to 2016 in Southeast Louisiana. I was a new fresh face in Baton Rouge covering New Orleans Saints games in the 2016 season. There was their last year of being 3 in a row, 7-6. And one day I'm out on the Superdome doing my post-game report. And Dave, I don't know if you remember this, but you were out there, like you had a cell phone on a tripod. And basically we just passed real quickly. And I'm like, oh, I'm Craig from WFB. Who are you? And you're like, oh, I'm Dave Schultz. I do Lafayette. I do radio in Lafayette, man. And I was just like, I just remember as a TV guy, we have these cameras, this big tripod, this setup. You just have like your phone on a tripod. I'm like, I'm so jealous of that guy just to have the phone on a tripod.
Either a cell phone or just a little home video camera.
Yeah. That was our first interaction. And then I'd seen you in press boxes throughout over the years, and we'd make some small talk and stuff. So yeah, Louisiana's the connection, but now we're here in Sunbelt territory, Sunbelt country.
And when ODU joined the Sunbelt, I said, there's got to be a good Sunbelt podcast out there, because there wasn't in Conference USA. I really couldn't find a good podcast for Old Dominion in that far-flung league.
Right.
And then I found Dave's Locked On Sunbelt podcast, and I said, okay, this guy's pretty good. He seems to know what he's talking about here. But when he's talking about the West schools, I'm going to defer knowledge because I don't know anything about South Alabama or Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns. I don't know anything about these teams. So I would defer. And then he had Ricky Ronnie on before, not this season, but before last season.
Right,
and I'm thinking, all right, let's see how much knowledge Mr. Schultz has here. Now he's on my turf.
Right.
And man, you hit every talking point. It knocked it out of the park. And I was like, Craig, I think I found the Sunbelt podcast guy.
Yeah.
This guy, Dave Schultz.
Yep.
And Craig was like,
yeah, I know him.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah,
I know him from Lafayette.
Honestly, man, you do some great work, man. We lock into you for information, interviews, and you do a great job. You work a full-time job on top of doing this part-time. And let's get into just a little bit of your story, man. Talk to me about how you came up in sports media, where you started, and how you got to this point.
Well, I spent a decade in baseball. I'm so old. My first year in baseball, the manager was Bruce Bochy. He was in AA of Wichita. He's already retired 3 times, and he's got 4 World Series rings.
Former Tidewater Tide, by the way.
Yep.
Bruce Bochy.
There you go.
Yeah,
long-time player.
I would have seen him play with the Tidewater Tides because I grew up in Syracuse, New York. So I was a big international league guy.
There you go.
I just drove, I think, through Charleston. So that would have been the Charleston Charlies, right, in West Virginia. And so I spent a decade doing minor league ball. Didn't quite make it. I did a little hospitality in South Florida, and then ended up in sports talk in Lafayette, and then Mobile, back in Lafayette, and now I do bourbon. Now I work for Nippy.
Yeah. You've had quite the experiences, man. I think it's a great story, and kind of the perseverance and the passion I think that you approach your job with is what comes through in your Locked On Sunbelt podcast, by the way, man. Like, you're not just a guy that's out there talking, like, you do your research is what I'm getting at. Like, and that's why us sports media guys really respect that, because you know exactly what you're talking about. Can you kind of talk a little bit about what it takes to put your podcast together, Locked On, and booking guests and doing everything you do on top of just your full-time job?
Well, I don't know how much they like guests. I like guests because I come from the radio part. And like Brian said, it's a good episode with Ricky Ronnie, not because of me, because Ricky Ronnie is so good. And he doesn't really give you the coach talk. He tells you what he really thinks. So that's why those interviews with Ricky are really good. Plus, he's a heady guy. He's an Ivy Leaguer from Cornell. So he knows what he's doing. In terms of trying to do the podcast, you have to focus on the immediate news. I think we're probably getting to a little college basketball for tomorrow's episode, but I'm sure for the next few weeks, the main focus is going to be JMU in the college football playoffs in Oregon. And tomorrow, somebody who I covered in Lafayette. Craig, I don't know if you ever went over there, but Billy Napier is being named the JMU coach. Officially introduced. He's been named the coach already. And so we're trying to get Billy on. It's kind of important to get him on in the next couple of days because then it's going to be a month or so before I get him on, because then he's going to be out of hand. He's got to move his family, got to get staff. He's got to be recruiting. He's got to be out and about for signing day. And then, so if I can get him tomorrow or maybe Thursday, it'll be big because then I won't have to wait until February and in between the signing day and spring ball.
Right. Yeah. Getting into this ODU game, man. ODU going to play USF in the Cure Bowl, Orlando, December 17th. It's
5 o'clock on ESPN.
Two 9-3 teams, man. We cover ODU on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. Brian was at every single home game this year, except for one. He did 5 of the home games. I did the sixth and final one against Georgia State. I wanted to see him up close and personal for myself for the first time all year. So here we are getting ready to go into the Cure Bowl. Dave, what do you think about the Cure Bowl selection for Old Dominion, them getting down there to Orlando?
Well, it's a great matchup, right? Old Dominion versus USF. Unfortunately, we'll see how many players are playing for USF because Alex Golish moved on to Auburn. And then, unfortunately, Colton Joseph is going into the transfer portal. And so we'll see how ODU is going to handle that. Old Dominion had a really good season. They stubbed their toe really 1.5 times, right? They hung tough with Indiana. And then the Marshall game got away from them, and obviously the JMU game got away from them.
Second half.
I was pointing out they're having trouble finishing, and then I don't know if Ronnie played the podcast for them because then they didn't have trouble finishing. They were blowing everybody out. They had a really solid season. They certainly had their shot at the East if they didn't stub their toe against Marshall and JMU. And JMU is really good. And so they finally stepped up, and unfortunately, just the day and era that we're in, Colton won't be back. I hear that it's kind of odd.
What are you hearing?
I heard West Coast, but ACC. So
I heard Stanford about a month ago. That was the rumbling around town, and I know there's
7 figures. So it's not. You're getting paid 7 figures, and you're getting an education from Stanford.
Okay, let's pause for a second.
And he's from California.
Dave, hold on. Let's put Dave on the screen. Dave, 7 figures is the number you're hearing right now?
That's what I was
Tamara,
told.
can we put Dave on that?
That is. I was told, yes. I was told.
That's crazy. I mean,
I was told $1 million.
Brian will tell you this. I'm like an NIL report hater. Like, I hate when these people just put these headlines out. Carson Beck, 10 million from Miami. I'm like, there's no way Carson Beck's I just don't believe half of it. Although I'm sure some of it is legit. I hate the arrow.
I think maybe it could be.
It's $1 million.
The total value of the deal could be worth up to.
Right. Up to is that's a better way to report it.
I don't know about that because the kid from South Alabama, Gio Lopez, who went to North Carolina.
You're plugged in.
We're coming from both ends, from the Carolina end and the South Alabama end. He was getting $2 million for each for 2 years. He got $4 million.
Wow. If that's, I could just be blind to it or just hate it enough where I don't want to believe it. Something like that. As a former college football walk-on that was struggling to eat dinner every night, and I couldn't eat dinner at the facility. Now guys are getting $4 million to transfers. So no, it's crazy. And you know what? We talk about the transfer portal. It sucks for the play on the field, but it's good for the kids. They get an opportunity to move like the coach has been doing for decades. They get an opportunity to get paid. These guys might never play it down in the NFL. Maybe they will. But get your money while you can. As a fan, I hate it. But for the kids, hey, we live in a democracy. We live in a capitalism society, and it's good for them. They should go get the money while they can.
So with Colton Joseph out, Quinn Hennicle, number 10 here. That's the quarterback room from last year, Grant Wilson. Yep. He's now at Alabama. There's Colton.
Indiana, right? Indiana.
What did I say?
You said Alabama.
Oh, Indiana. Excuse me. And there's Colton. And there he is. That's Quinn Hennicle. He is a redshirt freshman. He's from Pennsylvania, where he's likes to run the ball. He had one start last year against Arkansas State, and look what he did here. How about a 92-yard touchdown run? At the time, the longest run in program history. It might have been the longest run of the year last year in college football up until that point. 6'2", 210 pounds. He was a 3-star recruit. He chose ODU over Bowling Green and William and Mary. He's played in 3 games.
Started one, played in 3.
He's rushed for 278 yards and 3 touchdowns for an 8.2 average. You know what that kind of sounds like?
Colton Joseph.
That sounds a lot like Colton Joseph's numbers.
The designed runs, man. That's the key with ODU's offense. This year they really designed the quarterback run. So you would think the offense won't look any different, or maybe we'll find out. But, obviously he's a guy that Ricky Ronnie and company believe in.
Now, USF has, as good as Old Dominion's offense was, USS was even better. Second in the country, 500 yards per game.
Wow.
Their quarterback, Byram Brown, 6'3", 231 pounds. He threw for 3,100 yards, 28 touchdowns. He ran for 1,000 yards too.
It's crazy.
Just like Colton Joseph.
Yeah.
And he had 14 touchdowns. He says he's going to play in the game.
Does he end up at Auburn? You hear anything, Dave, there? Have you ever heard anything that name, or does he go with Golish? Okay.
I have not heard that. I am a big fan of Zach Blackerby. He's the one who got me into this. He hosts Lockdown Auburn, has one of the best Lockdown podcasts.
I have to check it out.
Usually that pops up on my YouTube thing, one of the first things.
Yeah.
Whatever it didn't today. So
yeah.
We'll find out about that soon enough.
Yeah.
But I have not heard anything about that.
And Ohio State offensive coordinator Brian Hartline is going to replace Golish as head coach, but he's not going to coach in the game. I think it's the defensive line coach that's going to be coaching, the interim guy, Kevin Patrick or something like that.
USF, man, interesting program. Like, remember that was a year back in the day when I was in college. They had that one year where they were like number 2 in the country. It was at 2011. That was the odd college football year. But they've had some good years. They had that one guy, I can't remember, number 2, or they had a good little quarterback for like a 3-year stretch. It was super dual threat and was fun to watch. Alabama played down there last year.
Yeah. Didn't the coach hit a player?
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, was that the original coach that was like the beloved guy that kind of got them on their feet? Was it that? Yeah,
that undefeated season.
Yeah, it went sideways.
Yeah. It's just it's a sort of an interesting program with a little bit of history, I guess, to it. So, getting down to Orlando, I'm excited for it. It'll be like you said, 9-3 matchup. Although the rosters, that's the kind of the world we're living in, Dave. It's like we think, we see what they've done up to this point through 12 games, but because the roster takes so much different shape, like Vegas has a hard time with these spreads because you really just don't know what the roster is going to look like, and you don't know who these players are.
Yeah. I agree. And so what it does, though, is it gives you a little insight on what next year might be.
Right.
And so that's good for the coaches and the players.
USF favored by 6, by the way, in this game. Now, USF's big wins, they beat Boise, they beat Florida, they beat North Texas. Their only losses, they lost to Miami, Memphis, and Navy. That's a pretty good resume right there.
Is the Florida game the one that got Napier fired? Was that after that? No,
it was early in the season.
No, that was like the second game of the year.
Yeah. And then ODU's big wins, I guess you could say Tech, Liberty, not JMU,
right.
Coastal Troy.
Yeah.
They lost to JMU, Marshall, and Indiana. The Indiana game, not so bad. Not too bad of a loss there.
Number one team in the country. So, in terms of the rest of the schedule in terms of Sun Belt, Dave, anything else stand out to you in terms of bowl games and kind of just how the overall season went down this season?
Well, you do have a 10th team getting in, App State. They're playing Georgia Southern, and those are 2 rivals. So what is probably, a kind of a reward for the season, now all of a sudden, if you're Georgia Southern and you drop the bowl game and you're 6-7, that's a whole different story when you're Clay Helton and you're playing your rival. They are it's hate week, and it really is between those 2 schools. So that's the big thing. They're playing in the J-Lab Bowl in Birmingham. So they got a 10th team, and all those other teams had opted out, but App State said we're going to play.
Right.
You got a lot of teams that are trying to have a winning record. Mike Desimo with the Cajuns. They had an awful season, and then he won 4 straight to get him to a bowl game playing with a 3rd-string quarterback. And then the starter came back to lead them to a victory in the last game of the season in overtime. Texas State, I mean, you don't see this too often, guys. They lost 5 in a row, then won 3 in a row. They're going to a bowl game. That's going to be their last game as a member of the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
You got 10 teams going.
Yeah.
So there's a
well represented.
Southern Miss is going to try and bounce back.
You kind of led me to my next thing, man. I was just going to bring up.
Well, imagine being one of the 4 that didn't make it.
I was just thinking about Charles Huff, man. Like his journey the last 3 years, and like I don't know if you've had him on the pod at some point, Dave. But like
what character?
I know he is a character. I've seen some of his. What do you think of his thing? Like Marshall, Southern Miss, great year, right off to Memphis. Like what a journey he's been on.
Just because I do the podcast off the top of my head at the time, I was thinking. We're talking about these job openings. I'm like, could you imagine if he takes JMU?
He went to Hampton University, so he does have some kind of connection to Virginia.
Oh, okay. The Southern Miss fans knew what was going on, and it's tough when you're making $1 million or so at Southern Miss, and Memphis is offering more than double that. ironically, or coincidentally, or neither, he took the job exactly 1 year when he took the Southern Miss job. He took it right after Marshall beat the Cajuns in the Sun Belt Championship game, and I'm still recovering from the Sun Belt Championship game Friday night. I don't know why I went to bed so late. I certainly was sober, which was disappointing. But I got up early, and then who'd we see? I saw our guy Ross Dellinger tweeted out there, Craig. He was the one who tweeted out that Charles Huff was taking the Memphis job. It's a great opportunity. Right now, the American, those guys got the Power 4 jobs. I know Chesney is headed off to UCLA, but, Memphis's guy got Arkansas. Golish got Auburn and
Tulane.
And Summerall got Florida. Whereas my guy, Ken Womack, could not get a Power 4 job despite having a 10-win season at South Alabama. He's the co-defensive coordinator over there at Alabama, who, by the way, has been doing a pretty good job as the defensive coordinator over there. So it's a good opportunity for Charles. We'll see if he can stick around for a little bit. But if another job comes calling and he can go from $2.5 million to 6 or 7, he's got to take it. I mean, that's the way that it is.
What do you make of? I'm fascinated by the whole situation as to how and why he left Marshall in the first place. That it was a foregone conclusion. Everybody knew what was going on. It was really no secret. It was the elephant in the room. Why couldn't they agree to any kind of contract extension with the success that he had? He won the championship in his last year.
Well, I don't know what was going on. That's the big question, what was going on. My understanding is they decided to hold off on the contract extension until the end of the year, but they asked him not to apply or interview for other jobs. And I would have done the same thing Charles Huff did. The season's going to end and I'm not going to have a contract. And you want me to be without a job? I just have a baby. He's got a newborn. And so he's not going to have any income. I know he makes a lot of money, but that's a lot to ask for a college football coach. So he ended up getting the Southern Miss job. That was not much of a secret. And yet the AD ended up getting fired too, right? The AD ended up leaving. They didn't extend the AD. So they didn't like the way that whole situation went down. I'm not sure, if it was just a personal preference. The family didn't like Huntington. I really don't know. But they could not get an extension. And he really only had one bad year, and that's when his quarterback got hurt. And then so he went through a bunch of quarterbacks.
Yeah,
but other than that, he did a good job. They went bowling, won a championship, and for whatever reason, it just did not work out there. Now I think they got a good coach in Tony Gibson. Obviously, it's a work in progress because he took all those players with him, and a lot of the other players left and graduated or they're transferred. But I think Tony Gibson did a pretty good job in his first season. Well, they need the quarterback to come back, Carlos Del Rio Wilson. But yeah, interesting. And again, Charles Huff is another one of those guys that doesn't necessarily give you coach speak, which I appreciate when you're interviewing him on a podcast or at Sunbelt Media Days or something like that.
I think I've heard a lot of uproar from some Tulane fans. Are not happy about the promotion of Will Hall to head coach. He was at Southern Miss and he was not very good there. What do you make of this situation?
Well, I'm a big fan of the Fighting Will Halls. So Will was in 2015. Will was the offensive coordinator for the Cajuns. So I know Will for a long time, and he's got to do two things. Well, a bunch of stuff, right? He's got to figure out the lines, but he's got to find a quarterback. He recruited a gentleman that was going to Tulane because he was there, and then he gets the Southern Miss job, and he ends up going to Mississippi. But that kid never played for Southern Miss. He hurt his thumb or hurt his hand and never really played for Southern Miss. I mean, they were playing the Superback. They won a couple ball games without a quarterback. Frank Gore Jr.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that a couple years ago.
As the quarterback for Southern Miss.
I remember that.
He's got it. It is an interesting situation. You can't hide 1-11. Okay, so it's an interesting situation what Tulane did. But I'm just not going to say anything bad about Will Hall. I'm a big fan of his. He needs to learn with what did not work last time out. Figure that out. Maybe give up the play calling. I think he did that. That seemed to work for a little bit. But he's got to figure out the quarterback situation, and that he just didn't have that. The success of the Cajuns when Billy Napier was there, they had the same quarterback
Yeah,
start for 3
Levi,
straight
man.
years.
What was Levi's last name? I forgot his last name. I covered
Levi
him in high
Lewis
school.
from Baton Rouge.
Scotlandville High School, man. He was a great kid.
Yeah.
He was a great kid for us in Baton
Did not
Rouge,
miss
man.
a
He was
start
unbelievable.
for 3 years.
Unbelievable.
Mike Desimo has had, it's not 9 different quarterbacks, but he's had 3 different quarterbacks start for the last 3 seasons.
Dave, what's your perception, and what do you think the outside perception is of Old Dominion?
Well, my perception of Old Dominion is it is a sleeping giant. It is, along with Georgia State, that's the biggest market, Georgia State being in Atlanta and Old Dominion being in that area, the Norfolk area. When I was growing up, Brian, Norfolk was always the largest metropolitan area without a major league team.
Tell me about it.
We've had the conversations.
Oh, boy.
There you go. So that's what I always grew up knowing. It's got what, AAA hockey, at least it did,
Right.
and AAA baseball. And so plus, isn't Gavin Floyd from Norfolk?
No, don't know Gavin Floyd.
Why is that?
Who's from Norfolk?
A lot. Well, a handful of people. What are we talking about? Pop culture, artists? We talking?
No, baseball players.
David Wright, B.J. Upton,
from there, but there was somebody else.
Justin Upton, Ryan Zimmerman,
Oh, the Upton.
Michael Kadire.
Yeah.
Oh, Kadire's from there. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so my perception is that it is the sleeping giant. But it is, I'm being told, it's 3 different communities. And so it's interesting to get all those 3 to come to a football game, although they draw pretty well. It's not the biggest of all stadiums, but I'd rather create some demand. If Ricky Ronnie wants to stick around and, he said walk to work, which I loved. He's like, how many football coaches can walk to work? He wants to walk to work. I think that's great. Obviously, he's making high 6 figures, maybe 7,
800, something like that. He'll probably get an extension this year.
So he's doing pretty well, and they're the sleeping giant. I guess they have a little tradition, not as much as some of the other Eastern powers,
Right.
But to me, they're the sleeping giant. I certainly didn't think they were going to beat the Cajuns a couple of years ago. Those ODU monarchists got the best out of me. So I probably didn't think very highly of ODU at that time, but I'm a big Ricky Ronnie fan. I said this year they had to win. They did. And now he's got to be able to build on this one. Although replacing Colton Joseph is a tall task.
I think it's important to know, Brian and I talked about this the other day too, when it comes to the Ricky Ronnie era, it's easy to forget, like ODU was one of 3 teams in FBS that opted out of 2020.
The only one
hired.
The only one in a conference.
The only one in a conference. The other 2 were independent, UMass and UConn or something. And so when you look back at it from a big picture standpoint, Ricky, when he took over, like as excited as he is, big name, Penn State offensive coordinator, won all these games, won a Rose Bowl, called plays for James Franklin, and then your program essentially disappears off the face of the earth for a year. That's really hard. Like you lose recruits that are like, I want to play. And they're like, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to play. Like,
and he took over a 1-11 team.
And he took over a 1-11 team. So you factor in COVID, sitting out the year, and taking over a talent, a program that was struggling with talent. Like people forget that because we're 5 years removed, but that delayed his plan and his build for, if you were to ask him, I don't know if you'd say it publicly, but like at least a couple years. Like it takes a minute to recover from that.
Well, I joked with him because he is the longest standing coach in the Sun Belt.
Right.
If we're counting that year, is this his 6th year or is this his 5th year coaching ODU?
Right.
And I had to consider it his 6th year because I bet you he got paid for that first season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Just a weird takeover that had to happen. So.
And ODU traditionally has been, but we didn't get football until 2009. Mm-hmm. So it's been a basketball school. And even when it's one of the worst teams in, it's been kind of tough going in basketball lately.
5 years.
But they're always near or at the top of the conference leaders in attendance. So, they're getting, at least 6,000 a game for basketball. Yeah. But they don't really draw well for baseball.
Really good in the 70s and early 80s. I seem to remember them beating Syracuse. And I'm sure I had no idea who Old Dominion was.
Number 3 Syracuse, at the scope they used to play in. And in 2010, 2011, Blaine Taylor was their head coach, and they beat Notre Dame in the tournament. They're getting 9 seeds, 8 seeds, things like that. But mid-majors aren't going to get 8 seeds or 9 seeds anymore. The NCAA has made that perfectly clear.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, it's a sleeping opportunity. The local talent here, the base is here for plenty of guys that want to play, at that level and stay at home in the 757. And Ricky, to his credit, man, I've been really impressed with this team this year. They seem to have really clicked. Brian will tell you too, this was the only team or one of few teams, how many in the country that returned the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, the head coach, and the special teams coordinator this season.
For 3 years in a row.
For 3 years in a row. And not too many teams can say that. So I think the continuity amongst the staff finally clicked this year. They had the right guys in place, a mixture of old and young and transfers that really have helped them out along the way this season.
And while they're not going to be able to compete with Stanford, they should be able to compete with other schools with NIL, right? They should get businesses involved to be able to retain some of their talent. Again, it's one thing to do it at $1 million level, but they should have a few $1 million to be able to retain and go get some players.
A little worried about Blake Seiler. He's the defensive coordinator, and he has connections to Kansas State. He went to Kansas State, and Kansas State has a new head coach, and I do believe there's some sort of relationship between those two, and he's had a wonderful season as defensive coordinator for ODU.
Brian, these guys who we saw play college football are now coaches. It's really,
I know, man. I'm to the point now where I see cover the kids in high school, cover them in college, cover them in the pros, and now they're retired. And on to Ronald Curry, he's a quarterbacks coach for the Bills. I covered Ronald Curry in high school.
That's right.
Or he was
with the Saints.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
Or they got kids that are coming up through high school nowadays. That's the crazy part. So, all right, we're going to take our first break, and then we're going to come back and dive more into JMU and the college football playoff, as crazy as it is to say. Dave Schultz, stick around with us, and we'll be right back on Sportswrap Overtime, brought to you by HII. Okay, we're back. It is Sportswrap Overtime, continuing our conversation with Dave Schultz, the host of the Locked On Sunbelt podcast from the Locked On series. All right, we're moving over to JMU in the college football playoff. How about the Dukes this year? They rolled to a 12-1 record. Their lone loss was to NC State.
Louisville,
that's right.
2014.
20-14, and they beat down in the Sun Belt title game, wasn't it? Like somewhat the fourth quarter, I guess, towards the end.
They got a couple of scores late. That game Troy won the ball game. They had the ball with 9 minutes left to go, down by 3. Didn't do anything with it. And then, of course, Brian, you know this. You go from the press box to the elevator, and you miss the 2 big runs.
Yeah,
puts JMU ahead.
Yeah, if they make you leave at 2 minutes, then there's a very good chance you're going to miss something. It's happened to me at Redskins games.
Alonzo Barnett had the touchdown run, and then they had the defensive touchdown to seal the deal. So.
What was you were there? What was the crowd like? How big was the crowd?
I thought the crowd was pretty good. I guess it wasn't quite 20,000. It was in the 30s at night.
It was cold.
They did. The only real problem was that the students wouldn't stop throwing snowballs.
Right.
That was the problem.
That was especially at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and the punter was getting pelted with him. I don't think it hit him, but certainly it's got to be distracting as you're seeing the snowballs, landing next to you. So that was the only thing. But I thought it was pretty good. I met Delvin Joyce. I guess he's a JMU legend. I wasn't familiar with him before, but I am now. So that was a lot of fun. And met G-Fed, the guy who goes around to all the stadiums. I just had a good time. I didn't quite plan it. It's a very odd drive from Louisville.
That's what I was about to say. How far is it?
Well, it's about 7 hours, or just over, but it was 3 hours to Huntington, which is no problem. Then you're going up and down the mountains, and a 4-hour drive seemed to take 6 hours.
Wow. Changing speeds up.
I
bending
checked into the hotel and went right to the ball game. But it was great. Crowd, I guess they don't run on the field all that often over there, but they did. I thought everybody on the field was fine. And we had a good time. It was a lot of fun. We got Jared Parker in, the coach of Troy. He came in first, and then Bob Chesney and crew came in. And so we probably should put up more video of that. But overall, great ball game, and the 6th time this year that JMU has shut out their opponent in the second half.
Wow, man!
Yeah, the defense, second half
6
defense.
times.
Yeah, just absolutely nuts.
ODU's
on that list, aren't they?
ODU's most definitely on that list. Yes.
Yeah, ODU's on that list. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. What are your impressions of Bob Chesney? I don't know if you've interviewed him one-on-one or just in the media, scrum setting. He seems like a sharp guy. I watched his UCLA intro presser today, and man, this guy seems like he's been on the rise.
So, well, for a long, long time. Yeah. So there's 2 head coaching tracks. Usually the Chesneys of the world don't get it.
Right.
Or the Kirk Signettis of the world don't get it. Although Kurt was was an assistant over in Alabama before he went down and became head coaching. He's got like 15 years of head coaching experience, D3, D2, and now 1AA, and now Division I. So the reason I got familiar with Bob Chesney is the word was he was going to take the offered the Syracuse job before Fran Brown did, but some money people didn't want the 1AA guy coming in from Holy Cross. So they got I've never been a head coach. I've never been a coordinator. We're going to take the position coach from Georgia, who had a really good first year, but not so great this year. I think Bob Chesney does a great job. It is not easy to fill in the shoes, and him and Curt Cignetti are two different people. All right. Curt is Curt, direct, no coach speak. In fact, he's more blunt in answering your questions. Chesney, a little bit more of that coach speak. I'll give you an example. He was obviously ready for the answer or the question talking about UCLA, and he answered it very professionally. It was a follow-up question. Will you be coaching UCLA next season? And he's like, I don't know if that's been announced yet, but, we'll probably have something for you Saturday too. So he wasn't going to answer it that night, but he basically said, we're doing it the next day. Yeah. So I kind of like that answer. And
let me just cut you. I did love when he said in that same presser, I don't know if it's the same when he goes, the people say, have you been contacted by other schools? He goes, yeah, plenty of schools have been calling. I have an agent. It's no secret. Like, I thought that was just perfect. Just put it out there.
Yes. Earlier in the week, he did that. That's exactly right. Yep. Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of, he's got kind of like a Sean McVay kind of persona around him, the way he kind of carries himself on camera, very confident, young, good looking guy,
it's the hair too. He spikes the hair up a little bit. Yeah.
But so Dave, I know you have followed Billy Napier, and this hire kind of gets away from the trend of Mike Houston and Curt Cignetti and Bob Chesney as these up-and-coming guys at a lower level that have been head coaches. Now they kind of get the guy that was the retread from the SEC, but he was very successful in the Sun Belt while with the Cajuns. What do you? I know you like this hire.
I do like this hire. Again, I'm a big Billy Napier fan. As far as JMU is concerned, you might be getting the guy who's going to stick around a little bit because of what just happened in Florida if he's successful enough. Yeah, I'm a big Napier fan. Covered him for the Cajuns. I think I thought about it. It was only for 2 seasons before I left to Mobile. And again, he had the quarterback with the Cajuns, but he never got the quarterback correct with Florida. It just couldn't figure it out. And so the Florida fans were talking about he needs to stop calling the plays. We'll see if he does that. I'm sure that's going to be a question at the press conference on Wednesday. The one thing that I liked about Billy after his first year, he won the West, but I think they took it on the chin to App State. And he's like, he did 2 things. He was trying to do that early signing period and the bowl game all at the same time and a Sun Belt championship game all at the same time. And he's like, that was bad. I think he went to, I don't know if he went to Alabama or he went somewhere to try and figure out how to get that time management down. But then he said, what I really needed to do was go through the conference and see what the talent is in the conference. And now that I have a good idea what that talent is, I know what I have to do. And he wasn't in the conference when JMU, ODU, or Marshall were in the conference. In fact, Mike Desimo's first game was beating Marshall in the New Orleans Bowl, but Marshall, I think, was still in Conference USA. So he doesn't know about the new teams so much. But Billy's, I think he's heady. It's going to be run a lot like, Saban-esque. They don't, he doesn't allow to talk to the assistants as some other programs do. We'll see what he's learned from his Florida experience. I'm interested in hearing about that. I do like the hire. I think he'll, if successful there, and I think he will be, I don't think he's going to be in a big hurry. Well, I will phrase that. I'm not sure other people are going to be in a big hurry to get him like the last 2 coaches did. I think it only takes 1, so we'll see.
He hangs his hat on sort of his offensive schematics and background. I remember at ULL, he was doing a lot of, they ran the heck out of the ball for those few years. Levi, I loved Levi. He was a great kid in Baton Rouge, but he wasn't, he wasn't Joe Montana by any means tossing it around. They ran that pistol a lot of zone stuff, and then they would set it up with play action. And so I think he runs, but that's what he hangs his hat on mostly, is offensive sort of being a schemer.
as well, yes, but he walked into a little bit of talent as well. Some guys named Kevin Dotson.
Oh, dude, don't tell. I was at Kevin Dotson's draft party in Louisiana, man. I know all about Kevin Dotson.
And Robert Hunt. So he's got 2 NFL offensive linemen on his team, which he inherited, by the way. That was Mark Hudspeth who got him there. And then he's handing the ball off to Trey Regis, Raymond Calais Jr., and Eli Mitchell. 2 of those guys.
Eli Mitchell, that's right.
And so, Brian, just to let you know, when Billy first got there, they had 2 quarterback system. But this was a very specific quarterback system. Andre Nunez was the starter, but every 4th possession, they would bring in Levi. And no matter what Andre was doing, no matter what Levi did, he's only getting that possession. I think Levi Lewis led the nation in runs per handoff because at least twice, if not 3 times, he handed the ball off on the first play of the possession, and it ran for a touchdown. And then they wouldn't come back in. You hand it off, you got the touchdown, you did your job. And so he had a great offensive line. He had some great running backs, good wide receivers. I never thought Levi kind of took that next level, except very oddly in his last year there, he got very good at throwing the deep ball. And that's exactly what happened to Marshall. They got Levi Lewis. He just threw it over their heads, and those wide receivers caught it, and he was throwing them on a dime. And so, again, it's going to be who's going to be the quarterback at JMU. How much do they retain of this talent? And it's a very odd situation because although Bob is out in California for a couple of days, he's obviously going to come back and coach the team for the first round game. And we'll see how much overlap there is where the new coach can hear from the old coaching staff on what players I need to look at, where do I need to fill holes. And so that usually does not happen either if someone gets fired or if someone gets promoted. Usually they're out the door. In this case, they're going to be overlapping a little bit, and I think that makes it for a nice week and a half. If I'm Billy Napier, I'd take advantage of the full week and a half. I don't, we'll let somebody else take care of the move. I'm going to hang out and watch Bob Chesney coach these guys.
21.5 points. That's the line. To all the
back up 20. Did it go back up?
I looked today. It was 21.5. Maybe it has changed, but
it opened at 21.5 and went down to 20. It could have.
To all the pundits out there and all the people, oh, they're 2 G5s. This is terrible. JMU's not as good as whatever. And I like the point that you brought up and you hammered home how. Folks, Oregon got blown out in the first round last year. Tennessee got blown out in the first round last year. The Super Bowl for 15 years was a blowout every single year. Guess what, folks? Blowouts happen.
Yeah. When it was 4 teams, the semifinals were blowouts every year except for maybe 3 games in a span of a decade.
Georgia won the national title 65-7. Should TCU not have been there? Well, they beat Michigan 51-45 to earn that spot. Whatever, man. Sometimes teams get blown out. It happens.
It's a low-hanging fruit.
Greg, didn't LSU take Oklahoma to the woodshed?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It was high 63 or something like that and crushed them. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even with 4 teams, every semifinal game was a blowout, except for, I think, literally 3 games in a decade. You know what I'm saying? I think the Alabama-Ohio State game year 1, and then there was a couple. I think there was a Clemson-Notre Dame one that kind of came down to the end. But, yeah, it's just low-hanging fruit.
Clemson blew out Alabama.
Exactly.
They still go to the playoffs.
Exactly. It's just low-hanging fruit that's easy to talk about. What's the difference now is – the G5 schools are going to get more hate because they're like, see, it's a G5 program. You put them in there, they get blown out. So, but it's just terrible. I mean, Feinbaum today was
the guys who set the rules. They screwed up their own rules.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the ACC tiebreaker is. I'm not going to do it because the Sun Belt tiebreaker gives me a headache.
Yeah.
They had 5 teams tied for second place. I don't know why Duke went.
I know.
They didn't beat Miami. So why is Duke there and not Miami?
I think it was common opponent.
Because if Miami and Virginia played, you would have had the winner of that game go, and then guess who else gets in? Notre Dame.
Right.
So, crazy.
The ACC screwed up, not JMU.
Yes.
And also Clemson and Florida State stunk this year.
Right.
So,
you've had more in the history of college football, even recent history. You've had more Group of 5 teams win New Year's 6 bowl games than you've had 16 seeds beat 1 seeds in the NCAA basketball tournament.
There you go.
And there's way more opportunities every year for the 16 to beat the 1. There's 4 of them. There's 4 opportunities for that to happen every year, and it's only happened twice in the history of the tournament. Whereas, I mean, we've had Boise State's won a couple of games.
Yep.
Tulane beat Southern Cal a couple of years ago.
UCF beat Auburn.
I think Cincinnati when they were a Group of 5 team that did some things.
Yep.
UCF. So So it's happened.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, man. And
I'm not saying JMU's going to win the national title,
Right.
but maybe they beat Oregon. Maybe Oregon has a game like ODU had against Marshall where, 4th down and 1 inside the 5 and you miss it. You have a couple of muff punts. There's a pick 6. There's some the ball bounces a weird way. You never know.
The weird thing about these games is we've all been around this sport long enough. This 2 weeks off, things get wonky. Guys lose this, the offense gets a little rusty. Guys, timing is off. Like things get weird and wonky in this 2 weeks because guys aren't playing for 2 whole weeks. You know, that's just how it works.
Oregon won't have played for 3 weeks.
There you go.
Wow,
exactly.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. That's why a lot of these times these things get a little weird and you never know what could happen. So, all right, we got 8 minutes left ourselves, Dave. We're going to send you off and let you do your thing tonight, man. We appreciate you for joining us. Everyone tap into the Locked On Sunbelt podcast and the rest of the Locked On series. They do a great job. So
Tell them where they can find it, Dave.
yeah, tell us, promo yourself.
It's on
here.
YouTube. It's Locked On Sunbelt right on YouTube. You can listen to it on Apple and Spotify as well. Brian, I really appreciate it. Craig, great catching up, man.
All right,
Really
Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt podcast. Thanks for your time. We're coming right back to finish up Sports Wrap Overtime after this. We're back on Sports Wrap Overtime Odds and Ends. Thanks to Dave Schultz for joining the show today.
He was fantastic.
He was great. Yeah, it's been a while since I talked to him, man, but hearing his stuff, he's very knowledgeable.
I listen all the time. I listen basically every day.
Yeah. No, he does a great job and working full time. Should have talked to him more about his full time.
Yeah, we'll get him back on.
Okay, so other bowl games we're sort of keeping an eye out on. We got listed here Pittsburgh versus ECU in Annapolis at the Military Bowl, 8-4 teams.
I like the look. That's a sharp looking bowl game right there.
Yeah.
ECU had a really good season.
They did.
There was, even they stumbled against. I don't know what it is about UTSA, Texas San Antonio, but no matter how bad they are, they're almost impossible to beat at the Alamo Dome.
Yeah, it's something about that dome.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man.
It's loud in there.
They win there.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good bowl game, ECU against Pitt. The first major college football game I ever went to
That was it? UVA
was
Pitt?
1991, ECU against Pitt at Dowdy-Finkland Stadium. Jeff Blake was the quarterback for ECU. Pitt was ranked.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a magical season for ECU?
Right.
They scored a touchdown. They're down by 1.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Blake runs the touchdown in, and what do you think they do? They're going for 2, man. They're going for the win.
Right.
Jeff Blake runs it in, and my sister went to ECU, so went there to see my sister, and we went to the game. They tore down the goalpost, and we were at a party later that night, 6 hours later. And the goalpost showed up at the party. It was great. They were parading it around town.
College football, man, when the goalposts get torn down, you never know where they're going to end up.
They ended up all through Greenville.
Right.
But yeah, that's good to see DCU back kind of, in the picture like that. 8 wins. That's a great season for them. And then we got UVA against Missouri.
Yeah.
In the Gator Bowl. That's a big bowl. game.
Where is the Gator Bowl?
Jacksonville.
They do it at the whatever the Jacksonville field is now. TII
UVA
Bank or whatever.
10-3. Well, what could have been?
What could have been, man? That was a rough watch on whatever night that was this past week, this weekend. Was that Saturday night? It was Saturday night, man. I don't know, man. They played down to their competition.
I just think
Kind of felt like anything could happen though going in that game.
I felt like UVA had so many close wins. The Washington State win.
Yeah.
They lost to Wake. There was
North Carolina.
There was they could 1 point.
Yeah.
An inch.
Yeah.
So they were kind of walking that tightrope.
They were.
I am cutting in.
Tamara's making a picture.
This is Tamara Brown, everybody. She's been behind the scenes.
Cutting into this whole thing just to say that was not a surprise at all. That is what UVA does.
Yeah, that's true.
It was either going to be that game versus Virginia Tech that they lost or that game, but I had no intention of them winning that game.
Yeah.
I was fairly confident that Duke was going to win the game.
Absolutely.
And they just played a couple weeks earlier.
Yeah.
So they got the.
I'm sorry. It was either the Tech game or the championship game. There was no way they were going to the CFP, but I'll let you guys finish.
Yeah.
No, she would chime in if they came up.
Yeah, it was an interesting game to watch. So UVA going to go be happy in the Gator Bowl and take a trip down to Jacksonville where it'd be a little bit warmer than Charlottesville at this time of year. So
a lot to build on for Tony Elliott. A turnaround year, a breakthrough year.
Unbelievable.
I mean, they were a game away from the college football playoff and an ACC championship.
Forget about it.
So
Because
they've
this was it.
got
James Franklin is here.
they've
It's
got,
not going to happen.
Thank you. Tamara is a proud Virginia Tech graduate, if you did not know that.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to the bowl season, man. JMU at Oregon, man. I just cannot believe JMU is like playing my alma mater, like in Autzen Stadium. Like it's like weird. Autzen's going to be hosting a playoff game in that environment. I said it on the 6:00 broadcast tonight. Like all the East Coast people, like get it right, guys. It's not Autzen Stadium. Everyone keeps saying Autzen Stadium on the East Coast. It's Autzen. It's Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon, not Oregon. So
August 27th, 1972 was one of the all-time Grateful Dead shows. Was in Oregon?
1972. Wow.
Oh, that was Veneta. That was Veneta.
Veneta. Yeah, it's a little bit down the road.
Okay.
Hey, shout out to our shout out to our high school teams that made state championship games. Class 6, Oscar Smith. Class 5, Maury. Class 3, Lake Taylor.
And then there were 3.
So class 6 and 5 are going to be in Harrisonburg at Bridgeforth. Oscar Smith playing North Stafford.
North Stafford.
Sorry.
Maury playing Highland Springs.
That's going to be a good one.
And Kettle Run against Lake Taylor.
Kettle Run had a really good team last year. I don't know about this year, but they're in the state title game for a reason. Like Kettle Run was like loaded last year. So how about Lake Taylor, man? Winning on the state semifinal walk-off touchdown.
Wow. Gerald Clark caught that ball. Wow. What
time expiring.
Yeah.
Nuts.
That's a dream. How about that for a dream finish to get to the state championship game?
How many times in high school football, there's like 2 minutes left on the clock, a team gets the ball on their own 20, and it's hard for high school teams. I hate to say it, but it's hard for high school teams to have that level of organization to run a 2-minute offense and manage timeouts and get the ball down the field and sprint to the line and figure out the play clock because the refs are doing the thing. You know, it's like, so you don't see it often when like high school teams go on like a great 2-minute drill to go win a game. Like you just don't see it all the time.
I covered the Pocosin game. Mm-hmm. You covered the Indian River Highland Springs game. Yeah. There were hardly any flags in my game. Were there a lot of? I feel like even in high school, is there a directive like, all right, we don't have to call everything.
No, there was a few more in the Highland Springs game. Not the worst, but there was some flags up in Richmond. Yeah,
because like in the NFL playoffs, clearly there's somebody is saying something like, we don't have to call everything, because there's no flags in the playoffs.
If it's not egregious, you know what I mean? Like let the kids play. So Indian River struggled against the Springers. Springers defense looks really impressive. We'll see what Maury does. I think Maury will get him, but the Springers.
So what do you think the James Madison mindset is? So you played college football. Imagine you're in this situation and Chip Kelly's your head coach and he says, "No, I'm leaving. I'm going to go take the job at Ohio State, but I'm going to stick around and coach you guys until the end." That seems kind of weird. How much coaching is Chesney really doing?
I think he is a tone setter. I think he's a culture builder. I don't know his X's and O's background necessarily, but I think he does set the tone for that team. Here's my thing with what's different about the Chip situation and like the Lane Kiffin stuff is when you go P4 to P4 to like a rival school or a better program, I think guys get a little more resentment. My understanding, at least the way it feels from the outside looking in, when you're the G4 school and especially a school like JMU that has dealt with this, I think I think the guys just accept it. Like, hey, man, we're JMU. We run a great operation here. But, man, you're going to coach UCLA and NLA and make $5-6 million a year.
We can't afford you to pay you that. So
I think the guys are more willing to send people off and want to go out with a bang as opposed to what happens when you go P4 to P4 and people get pissed because the rival, then people resent you. I think, and you know this, like I think, if Ricky Ronnie was to up and leave tomorrow to whatever head coaching job, everyone at ODU would say, thanks, man. Thanks for what a great season. It's just a different thing. So, but hey, shout out to I'm so glad he gets to coach through this thing. Like he gets to coach through it. Everyone's seems like they're all on the same page. The AD and everybody. It's gonna be a good time. Hopefully, it's a close game.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either.
I mean, somebody I remember going up JMU and hanging out with friends in the stadium. It was just looked like a high school stadium and. They were 1AA before it was FCS, and they were good. They go to the playoffs here and there, but they were in no way were they superior to Richmond, or there were no way were they superior to William and Mary. Mm-hmm. Those were all on the equal playing field. They would all have pretty good years. Nobody was necessarily better than the other. I mean, JMU did win a national title in 2004.
2004 too. That's right.
And William and Mary's been to a couple of Final Fours. Richmond's won a national title.
Right.
So it's just to see what they've done, what that university has done athletically to make it such a destination school, and just nuts. They win
nuts. And this is I mean, outside of the FCS years, winning it all. Like you got this is the best FBS year ever.
In over UVA.
Right. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up on the Sports Wrap overtime. That's all the time we got. All right, for Brian Parsons, I'm Craig Loper, Tamara Brown signing off. See you next time on Sports Wrap overtime.